bragged to everybody that you like his or her music. You're kind of embarrassed that you like him. Bob Beeler, sorry, but he told us his was ABBA off the air. Prater, you went with Barry Manilow. I'm going with Huey Lewis. Our guest right now, Jeramiah Dickey in studio, is going with who or what or whom?
So this is someone that you don't want to admit publicly?
Like, yeah. Give us something. Yeah. Like someone, this artist comes on your radio and you are not changing it. But if your buddy's in the car, you might be changing it.
God, I don't know, man. I don't like listening to.
Yeah, I know you're a KTIK guy.
Yeah,
Can't get it off your radio,
I'm on
JD.
sports radio all the time. Audiobooks in silence.
I like the sound of that. Barry Manilow coming to the X on July 15th, though.
Yeah, maybe like some old school country.
Okay.
That's not embarrassing.
Like Lyle Lovett.
That's not him. Well, no? Maybe Lyle Lovett might.
Maybe Lyle Lovett.
Yeah. I feel like my dad listened to him, and so like there's some songs.
I love it.
I don't know.
Yeah, Jeramiah Dickey. It is Ask the AD with JD on Prater and the Ballgame. And Jeramiah, you showed up at the University of Houston, I believe, in 2010, and you were there for the better part of a decade. What was last night like as someone who's probably still passionate and close to University of Houston athletics, and not just that they lost, but obviously the way they lost? How was that on you last night, JD?
It's gut-wrenching. One, as an athletic director and being in this industry for, 20 plus years, I guess now, you feel wins and losses differently because I know what every single administrator, fan, student athlete, coach was feeling in that moment. And you work your whole career to get to those moments. And no one goes out there and says, oh yeah, this is how I'm going to draw it up. And it wasn't due to a lack of effort. And, sometimes the ball bounces your way and sometimes it doesn't. Yeah. And, you saw it in the Duke game with Houston. The basketball gods give it and they take away. And, but it was gut-wrenching. My 6-year-old, because we talk about the Cougs a lot, and, I love Eddie, and I think he's going to do a great job there. And I was there when Coach Sampson was hired.
Okay, so you know Kelvin Sampson.
I do, and his son and his family in general. It was a proud moment seeing how he's built that program up and what he inherited, and the process. And you can't dispute that he's a phenomenal coach. One of the best ever, and however you end up ranking them. And I just know how big that is to get that first national championship, and especially for Houston, that so much is based off the past of, what happened at the pit and, the Phi Slava Jama and, getting missed or the Big 12 not picking them up. And so you look at the work, and I was just so hopeful that they would get over that hump. And just because I know how hard they've worked for it and they've earned it. But sometimes it doesn't happen. And, my 6-year-old's crying last night. Yep. 2 kids were born in Houston, and we have a lot of friends and family there. And so my heart goes out to them. I felt for them. That was a gut punch.
When you showed up to Houston, Prater said this yesterday, and I couldn't believe it. 10 years ago, they were in Conference USA.
Correct.
Now they're winning, dominating the Big 12.
Correct.
2 straight years, and they're as good as anybody in college basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to, stick to you and in your head, your heart,
for
and
sure.
your gut a little bit with your current position, JD.
Yeah, there were a lot of similarities, and a shout out to you guys have heard me bring them up before, but Mac Rhodes and Hunter Yurchek. It takes a team, and you see how long it took, and it's a grind, and going from Conference USA to the Big East for 24 hours or whatever that was. Boise State was a part of that, and then all of a sudden the American, and now they're in the Big 12. They continue to chop wood and they continue to elevate, and I'm really proud of my time there. I'm proud to be one of the teammates that was a part of that. Had probably very little to do with it in terms of the role I was in, but you feel it, and that was a testament to the leadership, and they're not done. Coach Sampson's going to be back. They're going to, I love their football hire. And like I said, I think Eddie's going to do a great job there.
Prater, let's go from one basketball program to another.
Yeah, Jeramiah Dickey's joining us right now. He does his annual segment with us right here on Idaho Sports Talk, the second Tuesday of every month. Appreciate you coming in studio and juggling. I know you got a Little League baseball game. You got a lot of work stuff going on right now. Boise State basketball is done. And speaking of a lot of work, Leon Rice has got an off season that he's probably never encountered before. But let's talk about the past. for the first time, I mean, they're definitely coming off their most successful run in for a 4-year stretch. The success that they've had has been spectacular.
For sure.
And I think for the first time, and I can honestly say this, even though they didn't win the crown, I think for the first time in a long time, and maybe forever, that they ended a season on a good note and felt good about where they were and what they did. Here comes the transfer portal. We'll get to that here in a minute, but just your overview of this current basketball season, how it finished and how you felt about it.
Honestly, our goal is to win championships, right? Or to compete for championships, ultimately win and get to the NCAA tournament. That's always the goal. And we're not going to hide from that or shy away from it. But at the end of the day, to end the season the way we did and to be, to have a guy like Tyson and to see that 4-year period, and you all probably know better than me, have we ever had a 4-year period like that where we've created this level of momentum and selling out season tickets and, the second most wins in our history. And, and I have some notes here. I want to make sure I get it right. We're one of 7 FBS schools with 38 plus wins in football and men's basketball. That's Duke, Florida, Tennessee, Memphis, Houston, and Oregon.
Wow.
Like that's impressive. Now we're bar raisers. We're not going to settle. There's no status quo or like, oh yeah, let's just go do this again. We want to elevate. You heard Leon talk about that, in his press conference and some of the stuff he did with the media after. And that's what I appreciate about him. Yes, was it a successful season? Like at the end of the year, there's one team, give or take, because the NCAA tournament that ends on a win and everyone else loses. And, and that's life. And you got to go back to work. And we don't live in the past. We're a bar raiser. We felt like we raised the bar to a certain extent and there's more work to be done. But I would be remiss if I didn't say how proud I am of these guys. Winning is hard.
Really
and we have a bullseye on our back now. People hate losing to us. We're everyone's biggest game. And now it's not just football, it's men's basketball. And that makes me so proud, guys, because 4 years ago, and I told you this when I first got here, I saw so much low-hanging fruit. Leon just needed support. He needed infrastructure. He needed to be able to create and continue to create the culture and go out and recruit and do his very best. And, there's peaks and valleys, and I wouldn't even say that this was a valley. We moved the bar. We got to continue to move it forward. And, transfer portal and NIL and rev share and all the things that we're navigating is a big part of that. We're not going to stop. And, I'm really happy for Tyson and, give a shout out to him. God, what a phenomenal young man and just how he represented us. And I'm so blessed as the athletic director here to lead student athletes where I don't have knock on wood, a lot of stuff hitting my desk on Saturday, Friday and Saturday night because these guys are out, being inappropriate or like the emails I get are, oh, they saw them, these kids at the grocery store and how they were saying yes sir, no sir, and helped them with their groceries and things like that. Wow. It makes you really proud to be a Bronco. That's what we are. And we got to do more. And that's on me.
4 players so far in the transfer portal, another one today. And as you know, the rosters are expanding based on some rulings. And Leon now has, instead of 13 scholarships, he can give out 15 scholarships. Based on what I can tell, he's got 7 or 8 players. He's got the offseason from hell. Just the transfer portal, the way it comes at you in waves. And you just said the key phrase here. So I'm gonna lean on that a little bit. You still have to get better, and you always need to get better. How do you get better at the transfer portal game? I guess that's a cheap question about how do you raise more cash?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of that. It's talent acquisition obviously is important. Whether it's staffing, student athletes, whatever. So that's a piece of it, but it's how are we evaluating that? And this, I mean, it is a sprint right now. People ask me all the time, in the community, like, oh, are you glad the season's over? I'm like, it's never over. It is 24/7, 365 days a year. We are always in season. And you said something, in terms of Leon, like this, he's hitting this time and it sucks in many ways, from a perception piece, but that's what I'm so grateful about the guys I have in my foxhole, and a guy like Leon that I got to spend the whole week in Vegas with him, and we got to catch up on portal and the operations of the team and the culture and all these great things. And it made me so proud coming back with him and giving him a hug at the end, just because of how hard he works. We view it as an opportunity. If everyone else is going to view it as, oh, wow, this is uncomfortable, that's where the growth occurs. And Leon is going headfirst into this, and Burns and that whole staff, Duryea, I mean, they're doing a great job. Mm-hmm. And, I understand what the expectations are. And, but I'm really happy, or proud of them and the work that they're doing. We have to find more revenue.
Yep.
People say revenue share, it's really an expense. When you look at our budget and how we're supported, and I've been pretty vocal recently, we have to get more support. Bronco Nation is stepping up, and we got to find a way. And there's solutions that are coming. I'm really grateful for the conversations I've had over the last month, and those are going to continue to take place. We can do something epic here, and we don't need what everyone else has. The portal, when you look at what it means to be a Bronco, and you can say from the head coaches to the athletic director, all the way down to the student athletes, you got to really want to be a Bronco. There's been multiple opportunities, name me, Leon, Spencer, anyone else in the department, that they could have left for more money, and they chose to stay. And that's a testament to what this community is. That's a testament to Bronco Nation. That's a testament to the platform that we have as a department. And we're not going to stop. We're going to continue to do the work. We're going to find a way forward. We're going to find more money. And I think Leon's doing that. People get, excuse me, the fanatics, and I'm watching the social, and it's like, oh my God, this guy's falling, this guy's leaving. Guys, everything happens for a reason. Everything happens for a reason, and none of it is a surprise to us. So every time someone leaves, know that we're having conversations. Yeah. We're in the muck, and we're discussing, and we're comparing and contrasting, and Cody and Bronco Pro, and I mean it's crazy right now, but everything that has purpose, there's strategy behind everything we're doing, and it's not something I lose sleep over. I know Leon and those guys are out, and they are recruiting what they feel is going to create a championship team, and then you got to go out and do it, right? And that's where we're at.
Ask the AD with JD, Prater in the Ball Game, KTIK, the ticket. Now we want to get to the fan experience. This has always been a big deal for you, JD. For me, yeah. You get it. It has to be more than just going there and watching the team. I know that might sound silly, but it's true. You have to have other cool stuff there too. Prater and Bob last week kind of did their own panel. I know you have your fan group, but talking the fan experience, you guys have made a ton of progress.
And we're talking specifically football here.
Yes. Okay. Football stadium experience. I want to go with the one thing, the complaint, and I know you get it too. This is not news, but it's the long lines. Is there any way to shorten this or upgrade the fan experience by way of somehow, some way, getting those people in and back to their seats a little quicker?
Yeah, that's something that we track. And it's interesting, our team usually does not watch the first half of the game. It's because they're out with stopwatches and tracking how long it takes someone to get to the parking lot, to the gate, into the stadium.
Damn.
And the reality is, well, you got to have the metrics and things to hold yourself accountable to. Like, is there really a problem? Nate Burke, and you guys know Nate, does an unbelievable job, just grinds, and his staff, Jordan, Chris, etc., Renee, I mean, there's so many people, Allison, they are working the whole game. They don't get to watch the game. And part of what they're doing is tracking how long it takes someone to get through lines. And that also includes concessions. The reality is our numbers are pretty good. Could it be better? I'm a perfectionist. I want it to be elite. I don't want anyone to have to wait. Okay. We've tried different things. That's why we're doing the north end zone, or one of the reasons why we're doing the north end zone. That's going to spread out the crowds. We also are putting sprinklers underneath the aluminum benches, which is interesting, just in case the aluminum catches on fire. I don't know. Maybe that's reality. But how do we expand the options that we have and the opportunities for people for point of sale? And we do it through concerts, and so now we're going to be able to put stuff underneath the south end zone bleachers, and we're trying to create more space, right there outside on the east side of the stadium. And a lot of times people want to go to the concession stand that is closest to where their seats are. There are concession stands available. Now, that is not to downplay what Bronco Nation is saying. I walk concourses. My team does. We see it, and there are some lines that end up being longer than they should. We have to continue to improve that experience, and part of that is technology that we're looking into, upgrading Wi-Fi, those type of things. All of that costs money, and the decisions that I'm faced with on a daily basis is, do I invest into my people? Do I invest into the product? Do I invest into the sport program? So on and so forth. And we are trying to spread the wealth as much as we possibly can. We've made progress. Sometimes that gets lost in it, and and understanding where the questions are coming from. But I've seen the emails, because I respond to the vast majority of them. I've seen them, get less and less every year that we're here.
Okay.
And that means we're making progress. Do we need to improve the east side of the stadium? 100%. I want Bronco Nation to hear me. That is what's next. I don't even concern myself with with the North End Zone facility. I'm already I went to San Antonio for 24 hours. I had a bunch of meetings lined up. Part of that was looking at, all right, how do we get started on the seaside? What is the next step on that? And how do we, prepare for that? There are a lot of moving pieces to that. And we're in the beginning stages. If you remember, it took us 3 years to get shoveled to ground. So I don't want Bronco Nation. I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver, but that's where my mindset is. And it's the same with Extra Mile. We have to continue to move forward, and we're bar raisers, and we're going to continue to do that.
We'll get to the North End Zone here just in a second. I think you got a fun little announcement to make. Last week, because you're assembling your fan experience committee right now, I think you're soliciting for people to come on. We talked to some listeners last week, and they gave us a whole bunch of suggestions. $1 hot dogs all the time, but $2 if they come from Costco. They want giant, large maple bars like you can get in BYU. They want the blue chaos flag moved. They want to hear different kinds of music. What's the one big shining thing that you want in 2025 for the football team? I mean, for the football season when it comes to fan experience? What do you want? What's going to happen in 2025 that's going to make it better?
I think it's not one. I mean, we did a lot of work leading into last season, right? New video boards, new lights, new sound system, that costs a lot of money. And we invested into Bronco Nation. We wanted them to have a great experience, whether we won or lost, and ultimately we won a lot of games. And so very grateful for that. We're always looking to improve. We sent our staff to other schools around the country, whether we were playing them or just opportunities that they had to go see, other Power 4 institutions and how they incorporate their lights and sound system and music and all of that. We're constantly taking feedback. We're utilizing the Experience Blue Committee. We want to continue to grow, and we want to be bar raisers. We feel like we've gotten the experience to a legit level. I don't ever want to say elite, because elite in my mind is perfection, and we want to keep going. But we've gotten it to a place that I feel like, it is without question, the next step for us is to sell out 6 games again. We have to do that again. And the atmosphere that those fans provide creates such an experience for Bronco Nation and our student athletes. That has to be a priority. In general, obviously the North End Zone's not going to be there. We're spreading out our crowds. We have to incorporate them differently than maybe we've done in the past. And I think there's going to be opportunities to do that. But we don't have video boards and sound systems and whatever going in. We have upgraded signage and trying to get people from A to B much quicker. So there's things like that we're continuing to refine and redefine, what our expectations are.
Jeramiah Dickey, Ask the AD with JD, talking about Albertson Stadium, the fan experience, how they can improve that. And just real quick on this, you don't have to expand much, JD, but I know people are asking and wanting to know how the North setup will look on game day. With the way that thing's going up, it's almost like, dude, this isn't going to be ready by game day. I can't believe how much, how well they're doing on that project. But just to tell Bronco Nation, what do you think the game from a fan experience standpoint, the optics, what's the North End going to look like during game day this year?
Yeah, it will be interesting. The assumption is the crane is still going to be there and probably try to lower it a little bit. Okay. Obviously the video board, and there's going to be a section, because of the crane that maybe you're not going to get the full video board. That's part of it. They are moving quickly. I'm impressed. I don't think we lost a day because of weather. Knock on wood.
You planned that in?
Yes, we planned it in. I've been praying. They're like, you have to plan in the time that potentially you lose, because we're on a pretty strict timeline. We need this thing to be open August of 26 or prior to our first game. And so, the walls are going up. It makes it real. I think you're going to see, some interesting things where the home team and or where we and the visiting team enter and exit the stadium. And this is something that's new news, which my staff may not appreciate me saying, but I think that's par for the course. We are moving our home sideline to the visitor sideline, and the visitors will be where our home sideline is right now.
What's the catalyst behind that?
Just to eliminate the crossing of the teams as they exit the field, and obviously we have to take into account the construction, and it's just more of a preference thing right now, and something that I think our fans will appreciate. It's when you think about where the visiting locker room is, and it just makes it a little bit easier, and that's something that Spencer was on board with, and our team has been planning around, and we're going to be able to take care of those that they specifically want sit behind, us, but a lot of the teams I've been at, on your largest side is where your home team is. And,
Yep.
I think change can be uncomfortable, but I'm really excited about it. It's going to be a different look. And, I think that's something that that Bronco Nation will embrace if they don't now, but in time. And I know our team is prepared to, to answer some questions around that.
The House settlement is something that's been brewing for 9 years. It's ridiculously thick. The rule book and the legal documents are 1,000 miles long. Yesterday, there was a 10-hour court date or a court moment in Oakland, California, and the judge had some pretty strong things to say, but then she sent everybody out to go do some more work. So the impact of this House, which essentially is going to give you the rules for revenue sharing and your new Bronco program, Bronco Pro program moving forward. Take this really complicated issue. And every time I bring up the House settlement, somebody goes, what's the House settlement? So we're all, myself and you yourself included, we're all learning about this. What happened yesterday, and what is the impact of House on Boise State athletics over these next couple of months?
It's really been a continuation of previous conversations that have been out there publicly. The judge had some questions in terms of grandfathering in maybe those athletes that weren't no longer going to be on scholarship.
The walk-on stuff.
The walk-ons. Yeah. And, I know that's been public fodder for national media, et cetera. And it just shows you guys we're still living some level of insanity. And, and that bothers me. Yeah. And that was a big part of me going to San Antonio for at least 24 hours. I did not go to the games. I went back to Vegas to support our team, but I wanted to get an idea of what everyone was saying in the industry. And there are some solutions, that I think are ahead of us that we have to really wrap our head around. The reality is I don't see revenue share not being a thing, whether this House thing gets approved or not. It's so far. I mean, the cat's out of the bag. Like, it's not going back in.
I know. I don't know.
And so I wasn't as worried about it, other than to check that box so we can move forward. It's really given us a lot of opportunity in terms of revenue share. And I said earlier, it's really not revenue share. What revenue to share? I think that's a misconception out there. It's an expense, and call it a marketing expense or whatever you want. But we are prepared for that. Obviously, there's more for us to do. It's given us a lot of good conversations with our student athletes as we were looking towards this date, and I'm assuming we'll get some type of ruling over the next couple of weeks, if not sooner. But we're well prepared for that. That's why we launched Bronco Pro. We've been well ahead of this since the very beginning. And really what it comes down to is our cap versus everyone else's cap. And I feel like we're in a competitive space. It's not, that's one of the things that I wish we were more transparent on. I think that's just the reality, but I'm hopeful that, in time, as we create guardrails, however strong they are or not, the enforcement piece is going to be important, and we're going to have to continue to find solutions. And I don't believe the federal government is the solution.
Jeramiah Dickey, Ask the AD with JD. He's in the rowpaint.com studio. I know your relationship with a lot of the players on campus, and that's not just the star quarterback. It's also the beach volleyball and you try to feel what every student athlete on this campus experiences, JD. Yeah. But let's talk football. And in my opinion, the three people under the most pressure with this football program, you number one, Spencer number two, and Maddox number three.
Yeah.
I know your relationship with Spencer, well documented, like blood brothers. What's your relationship like with Maddox Madsen?
Awesome. Mad Dog, I saw him yesterday. He texted me last week, you
guys text like you're cool like that.
Yeah.
With him,
I talked about Tyson earlier, guys. Like, we have phenomenal student athletes. I get that we're held accountable. I get pressure is a privilege. We all understand. We know what it means to be a Bronco. We didn't come here to be someone else. We came here to elevate and to win championships. And Spencer's very vocal about that. I'm vocal about it. Mad Dog is. But we have some phenomenal kids, and preparing them for life and just seeing their growth, and it's, to see him light up. And, I saw him in the hallway, and, he asked how I was doing. And, it's important for me, the more I go down these rabbit holes of what the industry is becoming and the insanity, and, to rebalance myself and to be able to see those guys, because it's, it's emotional. Like, that's my why.
I know.
I am here for them, and I love them to death. They some may love me, some may not, because, I'm kind of like the principal's office sometimes,
yeah.
but I absolutely love them to death. And, senior days are the hardest, a lot of emotion around that. And,
Yeah.
I care a lot about them, and, they're once a Bronco, always a Bronco, and I'm here to serve them as much as I possibly can. So my relationship is solid, and, and I try to get out as much as I possibly can, and I think it helps, hearing from them. They have a seat at this table, and we try to do a lot with our SAC committee and Bronco life. That's what it means to be a Bronco, and we're here to help.
We need to get you out of here, but one last question. I'll make it an easy question and looking for an easy answer. You're coming back on May 13th.
Yeah.
You do this every Tuesday. Jeramiah Dickey,
Yeah.
Boise State Athletic Director, every Tuesday with Idaho Sports Talk, the second Tuesday of every month. When you come back on May 13th, will the Pac-12, the new Pac-12, have a media rights package by then? And if not, should I be worried?
No one should be worried. But I would assume so. But a lot of these things, guys, there's negotiations and strategy and whatever else. So
but that's what you've been doing for the last year.
Yeah, JD, come on, man. I want a deal.
We have, but good things take time. And I think we're much closer today than the last time I was in here, and have had some great conversations. And I think our goal all along was in the spring sometime, and but those conversations, you consider what getting everyone together and the time, effort, and energy it takes. It's not something that I'm overly concerned about in my mind. And similar to North End Zone, guys, it's like, we're going to have a media deal. It's going to be with who it is, and we're going to get X amount of dollars, and it's what's next. And I'm on to the next thing. I'm more concerned about how are we monetizing Pac-12 enterprises? How are we utilizing that to tell our story in terms of NIL and RevGen? How are we, looking at other opportunities like, private credit, private equity, those type of things. We need to find a way to get more. That was a big reason why we wanted to make this move and to elevate our brand and be aligned with like institutions. And those are the things that I spend a lot of time, effort, and energy on,
It's the second Tuesday of every month. It's Ask the AD with JD. And that's why you listen to Idaho Sports Talk. Let's unpack this sucker. We get back. KTIK, the